It's just a slow high five where everything about it is a little bit slower. And that is an indication.
You tell them to do that on a date. Just because you don't have a romantic history or a sexual history, it doesn't mean that you can't have a love story.
Everything is it's fine. It's good.
It's good, but it's not how it was in the beginning.
How it was in the beginning. Is that okay? Does that mean we're actually not compatible? Hello and welcome to another episode of Barbie Does Dating. And today we are in the studio, not with Barbie and not with Steve, both still out traveling the world. But I have brought with me a special guest. I have Michal. Oh, now I was so good with your
Niasteter.
I have Michal Niasteter with us in the studio. Special treat all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Michal and I met how many years ago?
I met you in New York City at a Love Professional Conference.
Yeah, the Global Love
Yes.
Conference. I'm trying to think what year that was that we first met. But Michal was one of the most approachable matchmakers in the room. It can be an intimidating space. There are a lot of big personalities and impressive people, and I was just this little thing with I didn't know anybody in this industry really, and you were one of my first friends that we made. So let's tell my listeners here why you are here. First of all, because it's so interesting.
Yeah, sure. I guess I should start out by saying that matchmakers, we're all different. We come in different shapes and sizes and different backgrounds, and it's amazing how we've all entered this insane, unregulated industry.
Yeah. We all have our own origin story and passion, different reasons for the passion.
Yes.
And different niches and specialties.
Yes. But at the heart of it, I think that it's because we believe that life is better when it's lived with someone else, right? When when you're surrounded by other people.
Totally. And both of us are lucky in love. And I think that adds to the emotion behind the passion. At least for me, it's a leave no one left behind sort of idea. At least that's a big motivation. But I want you to tell people
my story. Why am I here?
Why are you here? And what vehicular transport did you use to get here? Because this is a fun story.
Yeah. So why am I here on Earth is a different thing. But why am I here in Utah? It's because I always had this idea of seeing the country. And I think at some point people do a move from New York to LA or whatever, and they see the country in that way. But I just never have done that. And why not do it when my kids are still little? I have a 4 and a 7-year-old, and my husband is from Colombia, and we get to see the whole country together and with our au pair. And I've just always had my eyes on Utah. And as I've been traveling around the country, I'll hit up people that I've met in different stages of my life or professionals and colleagues. And there's nothing like that feeling of visiting someone and having just so much time with them to really get to know them and see their lives. And so I'm really thinking that now we are unschooling and road schooling our children. And instead of learning about the world, instead of learning about people, we're learning from them. We're learning from the world.
Yes.
And so I've been hosted here by you, and it's been incredible.
Yeah. So they rolled into town in this huge RV, which you own. You have this, and when you are living in Philadelphia, it's stored somewhere.
Yeah. When you ask people what happened when the pandemic hit and what was your COVID hobby, some people made bread and we bought an RV. So
you bought an RV.
Yeah.
And I had a mental breakdown.
Okay.
So that's how I spent mine.
We all have our different things, right?
Yeah. So it has been so fun to have you here and to see Utah through your eyes. And I've loved that. And even having your daughters, maybe even more especially, I love little kids, and my kids are not little anymore. They're big. Yeah. So your kids are, we both have 2 girls, and our girls are about the same distance apart. So you having your 4 and 7-year-olds, I've brought out all my old toys, and we went to this Halloween festival, and they wore my girls' old costumes. And oh my gosh, we have had such a blast. And even right outside our studio, it's so fun to see you appreciate the mountains. And she keeps saying, do you ever get sick of it? And no, I'm a mountain lover, a mountain person. We spend a lot of time in the mountains, and it is so fun to share it with somebody who hasn't seen it before and maybe doesn't have as much experience either. And this is such a great week to be here with the snow cap that we have gotten on these mountains. It's even more beautiful than it usually is.
I think it's a good dating question, right? Are you a beach person? Are you a mountains person? Because there's something about mountains that just speak to me. And it drew me into a certain region of Colombia. I moved to Medellin on a whim with like a ticket for $231 and it shocked everybody. And I'm sorry to my mom for doing that to her. But, you know, I ended up meeting my husband soon after. But there's something about, you know, mountains that just like call me in, you know?
Yes.
And so, I know you're trying to make me come here to Utah.
I am really
but
trying to recruit you to come and stay, at least for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad that you've been here for as long as you have. And so, okay, so after tomorrow, she is going with the family in the RV, and they're going to hit Vernal and see Dinosaur National Monument.
Yes.
And then from there, you're going to
Grand Junction and then Moab.
Grand Junction, and then we're going to hit Moab, and then Bryce.
Yep.
And then Arches and St. George and Snow Canyon.
Yeah.
And probably go down and see Hilldale, Colorado City, see what's down there.
Plan on that, but I can add it in.
It's
Okay, we'll see.
The journey.
Yeah.
It's on the list. So I prepared a very detailed itinerary for you.
I was studying it today.
And there's so much more I could add on. And anyway, I wanted them to go see like Spiral Jetty, but they didn't. It was so rainy.
Yeah.
They came on like the rainiest day like Utah's maybe ever had.
Yeah.
We just had so much rain that last weekend. So,
but it's still, you know, we're traveling in a very slow way, and it's such a privilege to do this. And I really want people to think about how whatever means you have or whatever resource you have, like to figure out how to use it so that you can take breaks and really explore a place. It's really important in your dating life to be able to speak about an adventure you've taken or a culture that you've learned from or something that inspired you, or when you got, you know, rained on when you went to this mountain, whatever, it doesn't matter. But when you actually get to experience the world, it gives you stories. Sometimes I tell people too, like before your dates, watch a documentary. Please don't watch a murder mystery, like something so that you have something to talk about.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. You brought up not watching a murder thing. I don't coach people who are into murder podcasts, like true crime, because it makes dating, it changes I feel like it changes the framework of your brain and how you're seeing opportunities coming at you. And there's a lot of really wonderful things that I can do as a coach, but overcoming somebody who's constantly feeding their mind really horrible crime, usually committed by loved partners, is a really hard thing to overcome.
But I guess I also think that and maybe we work with different people, but we work with so many people who have really big careers, and sometimes they need to check out, you know, these adaptive things that we do so that we can chill out. And for some people, it's the news. Yeah. And for some people, it's scrolling. And for some people, it's meditation. There's healthier things, and then there's non-healthy things. But when you're a dater, you really have to think about your intention of how you check out. You know, is it watching Real Housewives? Yeah. Is it murder mystery? Or is it something that can be healthier, like journaling?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, before we get into dating, and I want you to talk about who you are working with, what kind of people you're working with, but even more interestingly, interestingly, I want you to introduce a little bit about your career background, because you've had a journey, and and it's going to relate into our topic today.
For sure. So I've worked with all sorts of people. I've been matchmaking now for over 8 years. And my background is in human sexuality, because at first I just wanted to be doing sex ed 101 and normalizing conversations and helping parents talk to their kids about sex and all of that stuff. I was really obsessed with that in college, how we sort of have preached abstinence instead of just teaching everything about sexuality and then letting people make a choice. And I realized I grew up in a very different context from you, but I had abstinence-only education growing up. So I don't know, initially when I took sex ed classes, it just blew my mind. And I was like, people should have formal opportunities to learn about love and relationships and everything that falls under the umbrella of sex ed. Right. So originally that was my plan. And then I ended up, moving into different fields. And then this career found me after living in South America, after being set up with my husband, and realizing that I am as extroverted as they come. I say I'm an extrovert, and I realize that you are too, since I've been tracking you. We just like go to a fair, and then the mayor comes up to us, and they're like, "Hey, Kristin." Yeah, you know everybody. I get it. And, when matchmaking found me, it was just like a kismet thing. And it was like, oh, it blends everything together. I've worked with a lot of people since I become a matchmaker, and something really landed with me that you said the other day. And it's that you like working with daters who want progress. And I love that so much. And I've worked with people who are, physicians and CEOs and real estate people and, big wigs in Philadelphia, like celebrities is what we would say for people.
Oh, I love it.
Because it's a city, it's a large city, but in a way it's a small town.
Yeah. Philly celebrities.
Yeah, but my favorite thing is working with people who are open to some level of change and growth, and I get to see them become a butterfly, and walk them through that,
chrysalis.
There you go. And I love that so much. And one thing you and I have in common is a theme that we've been picking up on, right? Which is the late bloomers.
Yeah.
Our favorite.
Yeah.
The late bloomers.
I love it. And I feel like I was one, and I probably wasn't, but I felt like I was. And that's still how I see myself and how I identify. And, I work with all types of clients, but I just kind of have this really like cozy corner in my heart and in my office for somebody who thinks it's too late for me. Like everybody else has done it, but I have a really great life, and it's okay that I don't have it because it's too late. And my favorite thing is to be telling them the truth and showing them evidence that the conclusions they've made about what is going to happen in their lives is not written, and that there are all possibilities on the table based on what they want. And if they have looked and behaved and expected certain things and received the results of those things, that if they change their mind and want to steer in a slightly different direction, they can. Yeah.
So what would you, can we make pretend, right, that I'm a woman who's coming to you and I'm 37 and I'm like, help me out, dating sucks. What would you ask me first thing?
I would say, what do you want? That's the first thing I always want to know is.
And then I list off my things. I list off, I want this, and I want someone who's kind, and I want someone who's patient, and I want someone who's giving, and I want to be someone's number one, but I'm just too picky.
And I would say, what does it really look like?
Yeah.
I would say, take me through a morning of your life in the future with somebody like that. What would you guys be doing?
What if I say to you, I don't really know. I've never had a boyfriend.
I say that's so now I know I'm onto something, right? If I can get you thinking,
that moment, moment when it happens.
I'm like, oh, I'm ready. Like if I can get you thinking about something you've never thought about before, then I was worth paying today, right? It was worth paying me to get you there, because if you don't have a picture of what that looks like, you certainly can't recognize it if you see it. And you certainly can't recognize the micro opportunities that are going to put you on the path towards it, right? You're going to continue to see things that you don't want or things that you've been disappointed by, or you're going to get distracted by sparkly, shiny things that seem sexy but don't have substance, right? That can't take you there. And a big number of my clients just don't have a real picture of what a life like that would be mid-process, right? And that's what I really want them to think about is mid-process. What does that look like?
It's a tool of manifestation, isn't it?
Yeah.
To dream it up.
Yeah. And the manifestation is really just, it's brain science. Like there are systems of the brain that bring that manifestation in those things into reality, like that help us recognize those opportunities. Yeah. It's not just, what's the word you used a minute ago? Kismet?
Yeah.
Is that a Jewish word?
Oh, let's look up the root of it. I don't want to mess that up. It's just like a way to say fate or destiny. I'm not sure where it comes from.
I've never heard it.
Yeah. Kismet.
So
I think that it's interesting. I have this moment a lot too, right? Where people come to you and they want to dump on you and tell you, I'm seeking this, I'm seeking that, and I'm picky. And then you get to that moment of like, well, what experiences have you had you know, and who have you had a crush on, and how did relationships develop? And what I try to do when that happens is really normalize that there's a spectrum of dating histories, of sexual histories, and that it's much more common than we think it is to have no history.
Yes.
Or different things in our history. But I don't want to say no history. You have some history.
Very little.
Very little.
Or like to be comparing yourself to others and think, well, I have basically nothing.
Yeah.
Right. There's a huge piece of the pie that those people think that they're the only ones.
Yeah.
And they're not. It's a huge piece of the pie of people that have really limited dating experiences at all.
And what a big weight to carry when you think you're the only one, you know? It's too late for me. I'm the only one. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
I can't figure out why everybody else has had a boyfriend or had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And not me. And I think what's unfortunate in our society is that our reference point for it is like the 40-year-old virgin. You know, it's just like a joke.
Yeah.
It's just a joke. But I think I want people to know that it's not.
It's no joke.
It's not a joke. And it can be because of trauma. It can be because of religious upbringing. It can be a lot of things.
Yeah.
So what do you see? Why are people, you know, and we can call it delayed sexual debut. We can call it life virginity, although virginity isn't the best word to use. Or, you know, what would be another word for this? Well, anyways, the point is that what would you say is the reason for it in Utah that you've seen?
A couple things. So there is an anxiety factor, like a social anxiety, that I'm just not good with people, that I tend to like to blend in instead of stand out, and I'm not very vulnerable. And so I, probably have given off the wrong signals. Like they maybe aren't verbalizing this to me, but they're saying other things, and those are the conclusions that I'm making, right?
Yeah.
That they're not overtly sending out any signals that they're interested and available in who they're immediately surrounding. And they've been doing that for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And all these opportunities have come and gone. And then they are extrapolating their own conclusions about what's wrong with them, why this can't happen, or why it's for everybody, why they're special. Or this is also a big one. Predominant faith here is Latter-day Saint culture, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We have a very strict moral code. Sorry, I've got some. I screamed at a concert like 5 days ago, and I'm still kind of working through some of the hoarseness there. But so we, in the faith, we have what was called the For Strength of Youth, and it has been a good set of boundaries and guidelines and guidance for teenagers, right, whose brains are not yet fully developed, to keep them safe in relationships, to allow them to enjoy a healthy, adolescent relationship. But most of my clients are 40, right, or in their mid-30s. And some of those guidelines, which are healthy and good, may have reached a point of diminishing return. And I'm not saying we should throw them all out the window because they serve a purpose, but sometimes a lot of my clients are living beyond the mark, right, of doing more to protect their body and to protect their morality than they even need to. And it has cut away so many opportunities, right? They just haven't dared to be flirty. They haven't dared to wear clothing that is really flattering on their bodies and shows off some of the physical attributes that they have. And, there's a big difference between, a Vegas cocktail, dress and just really showing what your body has. And so that becomes a big thing of what holds people back, is just living beyond the mark as far as trying to keep that sense of morality. So I don't know what you think about that, but I'm curious.
Let's stay there. Let's stay right there. I just want to understand, because I was talking to your mom about this. Shout out to your mom. The public schools have a seminary.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a little shocking for me. So the public schools have a seminary, and then it's optional to take the seminary classes?
Yeah. Voluntary.
voluntary. And then in the seminary.
So it's like a release time. So you're out of the public school system, do what you do, and you can opt in to attending seminary during that hour. Or you can stay in school and take another class.
Yeah. Okay, that blows my mind. And then
That's
the
pretty
children
unique.
choose it. It is unique. And is that where they teach like marriage and relationship and sex education and stuff? No. Where does that happen?
It doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't happen.
So, I mean, it happens in church, like, once a year or whatever, they have a standard lesson about chastity, like the law of chastity from the Bible and, from religious texts. And I'll say there's often like church affiliated meetings that are especially for youth where we're going to have we call it like a standards night, right? Where we talk about some of the values and the standards that we really want to uphold and talk about the reasons why we want to uphold those things. And, this is all voluntary. Nobody in the church is paid for anything. Every role in the church is a voluntary role, right? And, something unique about our faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, not all of our episodes are so faith, like where we chat about faith a lot, but this one is going to be. So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is very centralized. Like we have a head of the church that's kind of like a pope, but like all the doctrine and material comes to the same place. So comes from the same place and is like programmed and calendared. So no matter where you are attending in the world, you will have the same lesson.
You follow the same calendar.
We follow the same calendar and are teaching from the same texts.
Yes.
And so the difference is like who's teaching this lesson and what does their map of the world look like? And some people are extremely conservative and ultra, and some people are completely liberal but we're teaching from the same text. So sometimes people have gotten the message from their leaders and when they're young teenagers that this is very scary and that this is something that they should fear and they should protect and that they shouldn't ask any questions. And others have been taught by leaders who are a little bit more, I don't know what to call it, but I would say healthier, where they have a more healthy approach. And it kind of, and then there's a lot of this, most of this stuff is taught in the home or it isn't taught in the home.
Well, by not speaking about sexuality, you're saying something.
Yeah. So, I mean, from a church perspective, that's where you're getting this.
Yeah.
But, there are lessons in seminary, but it's probably once a year and it's mostly coming from scripture text.
And so what you're seeing is people who are, when we talk about late bloomers.
Yeah.
You're saying maybe a lot of them are still living in their sort of teenage years with that fear hanging over them,
Yeah.
because chastity was so
Guarded.
Yeah. Preached to them or indoctrinated or whatever word we want to use,
Emphasized.
Okay, we could use an and I think it's important to note that there's research that shows that as much as 1 in 8 individuals in their 30s and 40s are late bloomers, meaning that they don't have a romantic or sexual history.
Yeah. 1 in 8. Is that what you said?
1 in 8. And that comes from the Kinsey Institute.
Yeah.
And which is like a sexological research center. And
there's some really good research there.
That comes out of there,
If our listeners want to know more about
sexuality,
Kinsey is a good research-based place to find those like statistics. I've learned a lot.
And Kinsey was an interesting man. And I think that research just points to the fact that this is extremely common. And for different reasons, people are late bloomers, but it's extremely common. And I think that I see it happening in my context because maybe it isn't so much that they were I keep on emphasized about, chastity. Maybe it was more about not feeling like they had opportunities. The person was very overlooked. They didn't have boyfriends or girlfriends in high school, or they really focused on that ladder, that conveyor belt, to becoming a professional and having a career. Maybe they're the child of immigrants. Maybe they're in medicine. it can be all of these things, and they're following this whole path, and they're not focusing on relational education, all of these things that are important to our health, that aren't just about, what we eat and how we exercise, but our social health and our mental health. It's about having others around us and not just working.
Yeah.
And I see it a lot. And I have had success with people who are late bloomers because I think the first thing that we could do is normalize it, right? And let them know that they aren't the only one.
It's such a relief for them to know. 1 in 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, they thought they were 1 in a million.
Yeah. And
they thought it was so unique that Hollywood made a movie that was hilarious at their expense.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and it's not. It's not that at all. It's such a normal outcome.
It's not. And what I think is interesting is that people come out of the woodwork to matchmakers, right? Because we're just like, it's like Julie Furman talks about. It's like we could pull a rabbit out of a hat. That's what they think we do, and we have a magic wand,
We know perfect people.
We know perfect people, and that's just done, But really, we have to look at their history. Their sexual history, their relational history, all of these things. Their parents, what was their sex education like? What did their parents talk to them about? Everything. And after we normalize it and we look at where the person is at, we're going to help them grow. I think it's important to talk to my clients about all of the options that they have in front of them. So when someone's a late bloomer, I talk to them about, reading books about sexuality, watching movies, different types of therapies that exist. There's also professional cuddlists, which is a somatic type of therapy, right? Where
it's like
just being cuddled and held,
Yeah. Well, that's a big deal. I run into this all the time with clients who really struggle to break the touch barrier, to break the personal space barrier. They just don't have any experience for whatever reason that has led them here. And
it's so important.
It's so important.
Yeah.
And it's something like I do most of my work remotely, so I can't cuddle with them. But, we do, when possible, when possible, I do get together with my clients a time or two. And I try to do some of that role play where we approach some first date. Like, how do I say I like you on a first date without using words? But what kind of actions would indicate that there was an interest there and might cause a spark? So,
Let's hear it.
I'll be walking side by side.
Are you going to try it on me? Okay.
Well, I don't think there's quite enough space in here. But we'll be walking side by side, and I'll just kind of nudge my client physically with my upper arm into their upper arm and be like, oh, you're kidding me. And then, oh, we've touched, right? Now we've touched. And that was so benign. It's not intimate, but it has happened. We have touched. And then I will do this. Give me a high five. I'll do this lingering high five, and then just our fingers. It's just a slow high five where everything about it is a little bit slower. And that is an indication.
You tell them to do that on a date.
We talk about that among, many different ways.
Yeah.
Are you aching that on me?
I don't like doing high fives for some reason. I'm just bad at them. But my kids like them.
We have to meet people where they are, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are not comfortable holding hands, not comfortable linking my arm through their arm and maybe doing an upper arm squeeze. That would be too much. But we high five all the time. Okay, well, we can start there. Right? We can do a lingering high five where maybe our fingers intertwine a teeny bit, or it's slower. But we're just making some intentional motions that are different than what we would do with our colleague.
Yes.
So I try to crack them out of colleague behavior.
That's right. And this is where I really look at our culture, which is in the United States, especially since I've been traveling it, very diverse. And this is where I think about how cold we are. Because I remember when I was traveling and I went to Peru, and I would just, go to parks and walk around or whatever. And I was like a backpacker for a while. And I just remember my shock over going to parks and seeing how many people just sit there and make out for a really long time.
Yeah.
They don't care
Yeah.
who's around. And I just went to like a hot spring actually the other day that you recommended to me. And I saw like a lot of the reviews talked about they would take away stars because somebody was making out in the hot spring, you know? And it's just that in other parts of the world, you know, touch and physical things and making out, it's accepted. And this is, you know, it's not all behind closed doors and dark, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, everything here is behind closed doors. And there's porn, you know, whereas there's other places
Secretive.
where it's, you know, like it's more of a hugging culture. They kiss on the cheek, all these things.
Right.
And so coaching our clients to do, you know, lingering high fives and stuff, you got to meet them where they're at. But it also speaks to like how we have such a non-touch culture, right?
Yeah, we do. And, you know, a lot of my clients will be like, you know, I went on this date, but there was no sparks. And then the question is like, what did you do to create some?
Yeah.
What kind of
They don't want that
question.
question.
How did you fan that?
Kristin, they don't want that question.
No, they don't. That's what they like. They just, there's that, you talked about it before, relational education. I wrote that down, right? Where we know what to do to make a sale, right? Or we know what to do to fix a bug in a system we're programming. But what if we're having a bug between the two of us? Do we know how to bridge that or how to fix that gap? Because if you learn some relational education, you will. And that's really what I'm in the business of doing. And I think you are too in your whole industry of, tell them, what's your background? Like, what kind of education did
that.
What kind of education? But yeah, it's okay. We can go in whatever order. Linear is boring.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in college, I took some sex ed courses and I was like, okay, I'm just going to create this into a minor. And that's what I did. And started going to conferences, got a graduate degree in human sexuality. Some of my folks went off to Kinsey. I went to Widener. And I learned about everything that falls under the umbrella of sexuality, because sexuality is really the study of everything. You know, because you can look at it from so many different angles. It can fall under anthropology. It can fall under biology. It was so fascinating. And you meet people from different sexual lifestyles. And, you know, you end up not being shocked by anything. And, yeah, it was very enriching. I had a very fun master's degree, I would say. And yeah, like I was really particularly interested in sex work, you know, and how sex work is so common, you know, and something we really don't talk about or regulate, but in other cultures, in other societies, they do. And I was talking to you a little bit about how with my clients, sometimes I do recommend surrogate partner therapy, which isn't necessarily sex work, because it's not like there's something in between being legal and illegal. It's like something that's unregulated, because it's done in a therapeutic model where people could seek out someone who's a therapist and someone who is a certified surrogate partner. There's certifications that happen, and there's ASECT, and ASECT is an organization for sex educators and therapists and stuff. And there's this whole model where you combine therapy and someone who does like the touch therapy, if you will,
right?
You know, and it's
like, let me show you how to cuddle. Like, this is what making out is like. Is that what we're talking about?
Practicing hugging, practicing cuddling, practicing much more, which we don't have to go into detail.
Right.
But the things that you would do once you're in that, you know, dreaming of that healthy relationship.
Right.
So when you ask someone, like, what's it going to look like when you're really with someone?
Right.
They would better be able to describe that because they felt it.
Right.
And they learned how to articulate it and feel it. And sometimes people don't have these skills of articulation, but they're really good at touch once given the opportunity, but they've never been given the opportunity. They're extremely shy or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Or there's all this pressure, right? Of like, if this isn't reciprocated, that's going to be a huge blow to my self-esteem. And I don't know if I can recover from that, right? Where if you're with a surrogate partner, there's absolutely no pressure, right? This is just this is class.
I know.
You know, this is a learning class.
Yeah.
And it's like driver's ed.
And that's what relationships are.
It's like driving, like driver's ed, right? We're drive out on the range first, and where it's a safe, controlled environment before we make it out on the road and we can start making mistakes and it really starts to matter.
It's so important to learn how to be with another person, right?
Yeah.
And friendships too.
Yeah.
And it involves a lot of like question asking and understanding, and you know, you got to practice that.
Yeah. Social
It's just
education.
a matter of practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else do we have to cover? I really feel like we covered these late bloomers well.
Good. Yeah. So yeah,
What else do you do with them?
with late bloomers.
Late bloomers, yeah.
They're, a lot of times it's not just the sexuality, in my experience, takes care of itself if we can make the sociality a safer, smoother experience for them. Right? And there's also the one, I keep saying right. I'm aware of it. Working on it.
Like once people, okay, so like let's say in your context, once people are in a relationship, they'll learn about sexuality with their partner.
Yes.
Right? So there's probably some counseling or something like that.
Because they don't think it's going to be felt and they don't think they'll know what to do, but they do. The harder part is overcoming the thought that, I'm not attractive to the other gender.
Yeah.
Right? Or to the people who are supposed to be attracted to me.
Yeah.
I'm not attractive. And, there's some real coaching work that we can do there and some strategy work that we can do there. You've seen me at TJ Maxx with clients picking out blouses that are brighter colors or a shorter sleeve or 2 sizes smaller than what they normally would wear or have a different cut on their neckline that might show a little more, like less than everything, right? But more than they are accustomed to. And they find that that what was felt like, I couldn't pull that off, they actually can. And once they are in that, they're emitting this like different energy than they've ever emitted before. And all of a sudden people are so engaged with them in a way they never have been. So I had this experience with a client who recently got engaged, by the way, where we had this, we did a shopping
cakes, like the movie. The movie told us we're supposed to have a cake every time someone gets engaged.
Oh, yes, right. Cut it. Serve it on a plate.
What a work of you, Celia.
I know. Well, they do make gluten-free cake. It's just not very good. Let's have a cookie instead. They can usually do that better. Anyway, so we did this trip for her. We bought some blouses, V-necks, lower cut, shorter sleeved, 2 sizes smaller, really feminine details. Like she bought these jeans that had like some embroidery all the way through the whole pant. And she laughed when I picked him out. And she was like, I could never wear those. And I'm like, you can, and you will be in 10 minutes when we're in that dressing room. And she put them on, loved them, wears them all the time. And every time she wears them and something happens, she'll text me. And she was just like, I was at the bus stop and this guy like hit on me. And that's never happened in my life. I'm 35. It's never happened. I keep getting called on in work and they never used to call on me in group meetings before. Now it's happening every single time. Right? So you get feedback from a small change that you're making. I'm not sending them in for a full makeover. They're not seeing a stylist. They're making small changes. They're feeling more attractive. And then they're able to send that signal that they are attracted to and then all the rest takes care of itself.
Yeah, like attraction really has to start from within.
Yeah,
like if you don't think you're attractive, how do you expect someone else to think you're attractive? And that's a thing, like just because you don't have a romantic history or a sexual history, it doesn't mean that you can't have a love story.
Say more.
And to have a love story, it doesn't just fall from the sky, right?
No.
You have to do some signaling.
Yes.
You got to do some little baby steps.
And there's some steps, and even sometimes there's some back channeling that maybe people in your network are helping you with. I have I never really went to high school dances I was not a successful dater, especially in high school.
Dance?
I can bop around. I'm not, but like being asked to prom and those things just didn't happen for me. And I assumed it was because I was unattractive. And now that I have 2 daughters who have been through high school, I know that the girls that are getting asked to dances are back channeling all this stuff through their friends and then their friends' boyfriends. And then that's how all this is happening. I just assumed that you would get asked to a dance if you were attractive enough to be asked to a dance. But there's so much more to that than is possible. And the conclusions I've held for 30 years until I saw my kids go through this. And I was like, all of that was not true about me. dang, I wish I would have known that 25 years ago or 15 years ago, or, just all these things that we hold, these conclusions are challengeable. And that's another big thing that we do with clients of like figuring out, so how do you know that's true? Like, what is your evidence? Oh, but if I look at her, what you just said doesn't apply to her. So maybe it doesn't apply to you either.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. These daters need to do some back channeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it can happen. It can happen.
It's easier to do that in high school than it is in your 30s
I agree.
and 40s. Okay, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yeah, you may.
Since you're the expert in the room. What's the difference between like a physical chemistry and a sexual compatibility? Because they're not the same thing.
Oh, that's a good question. Wow.
Like, here's what I'm attracted to. That.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, this is what I like. But compatibility-wise, maybe that's not a good fit.
I mean, there's so many things that go into like our biology, right? And what makes us think someone is attractive, or how they smell and how they look. And then there's also cultural influences that tell us what is beautiful and what is sexy, right? And it's really hard because these are so overlapped and hard to tease out. And different cultures and different history, right? Like in the history of time, different things have been seen as attractive. But when two people get together and they have that electricity and their bodies just like fold into each other, or they just can feel, connected looking into each other's eyes, I mean, that's the compatibility that ultimately you want in a life partner, where you are able to be who you are, and messy and scary and silly things can happen. And be accepted. And messy and scary things can happen in a relationship and in a sexual relationship, and someone can still hold you in all of that.
And I think there is something to be said for like when there's compatibility, there's an admiration for your body, even in, and maybe especially in areas where you might be a little insecure. Right.
Sure.
I mean, that's been my experience, with my partner, Steve, who I've been married to for 21 years. He loved the things about my body that I was the most insecure about. And that was
so beautiful.
Jarring, like almost jarring. Like, are you kidding me? I've spent my whole life trying to hide this and trying to minimize this. And that's like, you're telling me that's my best asset? Like, that's so... That's some compatibility. Okay, and the other thing I want to talk, because I want to talk about this before we get too far away, because this can be a real myth and misconception. 6 months down the road, yes, we felt that compatibility. Now we've been together 6 months or 12 months, and I don't anymore. Like, everything is just it's fine. It's good.
It's good, but it's not how it was in the beginning.
It's not how it was in the beginning. Is that okay? Does that mean we're actually not compatible?
Yeah. Someone just messaged me today out of the blue on social media just to talk to me about this like rendezvous that she had, and now she wants to like uproot her life, and they live like a whole continent away.
Oh no.
Because they had a 3-day thing, and it's like, oh, that's intense, because that intensity in the beginning, that is a beautiful cocktail of hormones. It's designed, it's amazing, the dopamine, the serotonin, everything. But it's not meant to last. We wouldn't function if it lasted that long. So that's by design.
Yeah. Couldn't get anything done.
That's right. And that being said, like if they are, losing the passion and not finding ways to keep it alive, that's hard, because it's already like, 1 year in and you're not still keeping it somewhat there, that's difficult. And so you're going to want to talk to your partner.
Yeah, and that's
new things to try.
And I love that you bring that up, because have you done the course with Terry Orbach?
Mm-mm.
So she teaches a science-based date coaching course. It's really good. And one of the things that we talk about in that course is that there are 3 research-backed ways that couples who've stayed together over time report that they keep the passion and the lust for each other going.
Yeah.
Right? And that's new experiences, surprises, and arousing or exhilarating experiences.
There you go.
Right? So even if you've been together, like, I don't want to get too much into detail on this, but Steve and I had this like new surprising experience 12 years into our marriage that rekindled everything. And we rode that high for like another 6 to 18 months. Right. And it was so well that we have like continued to what's the word I'm looking for?
Reignition.
No, it's like it starts with an I. Not intimate. Why does this word escape me?
Brain farts happen on podcasts sometimes, don't they?
Look at the camera.
This is when I have to do like the office.
Intentional. We've tried to be very intentional about. It was a very important word, but it was a bridge. I really needed it. I feel like I really needed it. But we've tried to be really intentional about keeping these things going and like periodically having these like influxes of excitement that really bring in the passion and the aliveness. And if you don't do things like that, I could see why so many people grow apart. And it takes communication and intentionality to keep this spark alive.
That's right.
But no relationship is supposed to feel like butterflies continually for 26 years.
I mean, you think it's hard to find a partner. Good luck, keeping it alive. It's a lot of work to do it. It takes a lot of intentionality.
Yeah. Such an important word for us to have.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask another question?
All right. Is that the last one? How we doing?
It is, we can probably do 2 more.
Okay.
Okay.
It's good you answer them too.
Okay, this is a really good one. I wanted to make sure we asked this.
Okay, start it. Okay.
Can you talk about how arousal actually works, right? And especially the difference between spontaneous arousal and responsive arousal, right? Because I think this matters a lot when clients say, yeah, we went on a date and there was really no spark. And we had dinner and there was no spark.
Yeah.
And I feel like we as curious, like dating detectives, have some work to do in like throwing out this bid for like some kind of arousal, right? To see if there could be a spark. And we think like this just has to fall out of the sky and I must be responsive without trying it all. So
that's
anyway,
right.
I think on that, even if it's a hot take.
No, I get it. It's like people want to feel that like energy of arousal, right? A lot of it starts from within, but there's been a lot of sexologists who have looked at like all of the stages of, arousal and where they begin. And the truth is that your biggest sex organ is your brain, and that it really does start here in imagining and stuff like that. And so when people are on dates, they have to be able to tease. They have to be able to create a little bit of curiosity, in that other person about like, this is how I can be as a partner.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this. I'm curious about this. I love to learn about this. Like whether it's like through touch or whatever,
Yeah.
To create that like fun energy where someone can imagine you in a different light. When you talk about when your most embodied self is when you dance or whatever it is,
Yeah.
And if you're just talking about work, I mean,
yeah, we're sharing work experiences.
Womp
So I have an upcoming.
Does that make sense? We have to start with the arousal piece. We have to start it with creating that desire,
and playing these cards. You have them in your hand. You might not be thinking about them, of what cards you could play. In this round of, I'm not on a card metaphor.
No, I like it. I like it.
Relational and social
this.
Education. Right. So I'm going to give you an example. This is not pre-thought. This is not premeditated. So I hope this comes out. So I'm planning a trip to Kauai. It's very exciting, right? If I was going on a date, I could talk about that. I could talk about that in a way that would be very mechanical and also would be fun. Or I could talk about that in a way that might create some peak arousal.
Yeah.
But still be appropriate for a first date. Like, I'm not looking to have phone sex with anybody on a first date, right? Or
no, but
or go
couldn't
too
you
far.
Describe,
but
couldn't you describe the feeling of what it's like for you when you're like toes dipping the ocean? Could you describe that?
Yes.
You know?
Or like trying to get fully immersed in the water and get everything up and in. It's just like, it's not too cold, but it's a little cold and everything, Or I could talk about I've been trying on all these bathing suits. Like I've ordered all these things and, some are too snug here. And like, I'm like creating this picture.
And then they're just like in their mind.
And they're in their mind, they're thinking she wears bathing suits, right? Or if I'm talking about work, they're like, she probably wears trousers and a gray blazer and sits in a cubicle and they're not aroused at all.
Yeah, I love that. No. I mean, I like the other one, but I like this card in your hand that you have, and you're just not describing it. And you have to think about these times where you're the most embodied or excited or whatever, and you could describe that in some way and slide it in.
People who are good daters are aware of those cards and they play those cards regularly. My late bloomer daters or more timid daters or less experienced daters, they have those cards. They don't know where they are. We find them in coaching, and then we get brave enough to play them.
That's right.
Right? And we might not like lay them down on the table and be like, boom, I'll see your, and you raise me. But they might just like peek it up and say, I have this.
Yeah.
And that's a lot for them. And sometimes that's enough.
I love this metaphor.
But if they have this card that they can quick flash, like the next time it's easier to, and we go down this road of like, it's easier for me to start playing every card in my hand instead of holding back those ones and never letting anybody know that I have them.
I have this guy, it's just making me think about this guy that I have as a client. And he's like, like an engineer, and he's like shorter, but there's something about him where you feel so easy around him. Like he lets people really be themselves. He's not awkward, and I just had to show him that card of like, I've noticed you when you come to my events and stuff like that, like people could talk to you for a really long time. They're not trying to escape you. You have something special. You're not the captivator, right? He's not that, but people feel really good around you. And he was like, really?
Yeah. Play that card.
Yeah.
Right? Strengthen your strengths. Like you're never going to be that one person that you're comparing yourself to, but that doesn't mean that you can't utilize and exercise the strengths. One more thing before we wrap up, I had this thought.
But work on being desirable too, like whether it's doing something daring, whether it's Everest or taking a burlesque class, or whether just something where you put yourself in these like scenarios, right? So you can talk to people about them.
Yes.
Seeing the desire in yourself.
Yes. Of like, how could I spice this conversation up a bit? Right? Like, if we're talking about eating hot wings, like we don't have to do like all the way to level 10 spice, but we got to be better than just like no flavor at all, right? No spice at all. That's like, there's a whole spectrum that exists.
That's right.
One more thing, and then I want one more hot take from you and then we'll close. But when it comes to like feeling like I'm not attractive enough, I have a lot of daters who feel like they're not. I'm sure you experience that too. What is such a relief, ultimately what brings relief to my clients is them realizing that they don't have to ever be attractive enough to get Brad Pitt to ask for their number. That all they have to do is be attractive enough to have people who are in their sphere, right, who are in their universe, be attracted to them.
And notice who's noticing you.
Say more about that.
Take a second look at who is noticing you too.
Yes.
Yeah. Who's not violating your boundaries or anything like that, but notice who is instantly curious about what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And don't always overlook people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Any other final parting words here?
I think what we were just talking about in the car, that like your people in Utah are so nice it's scary.
Michal is loving her experience
so
in Utah.
We walked into this podcast studio. There was like a horse and then the purple mountain majesty. I'm like, this is where you live. It's so beautiful,
It's so lovely here. No, we're very lucky.
Yeah. So thank you, Utah, for hosting me. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for joining us on this show. It's
so
such
beautiful.
a treat to have you.
We're so different. And then the people we see have so much overlap because fear, shame, all of these things, connection, these are universal themes.
Yeah,
and it's
really
part of the human experience.
Yep.
So Yeah.
Well, thank you. And
Kristin.
I also want to thank our sponsors before we sign off.
Thank you, sponsors.
Orem Toyota. Steve is loving driving his Toyota Tacoma around, and Wade and the gang and Bryce and everybody at Orem Toyota is ready to help you. They always have interesting things happening on their Instagram. Check out their website. They have all this really great inventory. Do you drive a Toyota by chance, chance?
Not yet.
What brand is your motorhome? Not a Toyota?
Oh, it's a Ford. Yeah.
Well, we have a 2007 Toyota Camry that we bought from Wade, and it has been just like such a blessing in our life.
Thanks,
So anyway,
Wade.
thanks Toyota. If you're looking for a car, you've got to let them know that Barbie Does Dating sent you to Orem Toyota. And as always, thank you, Utah Podcast Studio, for this beautiful surrounding. Michal was telling me the other day, your podcast just looks so good. It's like so high quality. It's because Utah Podcast Studio is really good at what they do.
That's what it is. That's
So-
the trick.
Okay, thanks listeners. Bye. We're going to do this again sometime.